It All podcast. We're here with our man Achilles Rain to do a special NBA 7-on-7. We don't have 7 categories. We're going to do awards and all-stars since we're heading into the all-star break. So let's get into the all-stars with our man Achilles Rain. Achilles, welcome. You ready to name some all-stars?
Yeah, buddy. Sorry about the long wait here, but yes, you can see I've kind of been packing things up as me and the missus just bought a new house, and it's a little hectic right now. But I'm ready to get into some all-star talk.
Yeah, the mansion and the yacht are waiting out on the Tennessee River. So we'll be excited to start shooting from the yacht. Casa de Achilles.
Yeah, if only, right?
All right, so let's get into our all-stars. We'll start with the least, and that is the East. I got my 5 starters. What is your first starter in the East?
Well, let's see. For the East, I'm going to start off with Washington's Bradley Beal. He's been averaging just about 32.8 points per game, just under 5 assists per game, and just a little bit over 5 rebounds per game, if I remember correctly. He's been playing really good. I felt like he was one of the guys that deserved a nod. I believe this is his 3rd All-Star appearance. So, I think he's going to be an interesting addition. I think that he's deserving, in my opinion, to be one of the starters.
All right, so we're already starting out with good stats, bad team, Achilles Rain. I'm sure we will hear of Zach LaVine on here and numerous others.
Oh, gosh. You can read me like a book.
All right, I'm going to go with my first starter, and that is James Harden starting at the point guard position. Really impressed with the way James Harden has essentially come back to his Oklahoma City style of play where he's moving the ball, passing the ball. We don't have him dribbling at the top of the key, running a pick and roll and shooting a 3 every time down the floor. That's Kyrie Irving's job now. So James Harden made the first guard on my list.
Yeah, you're going to be a little bit weirded out by the way my starting lineup looks. On one side, it's a fairly big starting lineup, and on the other side, not so much. But for my second guard position, I'm actually going with James Harden as well. And I believe you pretty much said all the things about him. You know, he's a 9-time All-Star. He's a 1-time MVP, 3-time scoring champ, if I remember correctly. So definitely deserving. And he seems to be getting back into shape. So definitely a good All-Star to have on there.
Well, that's because all the nightclubs are closed in Brooklyn right now.
Is that why?
He's going to want to trade back to Texas now that it's opened back up.
Yeah, I think guys are starting to put in their trade requests now. So we'll see what happens with that.
All right, my second guard, and I went from the non-side of good stats, bad team guy. I went with Ben Simmons. The stats aren't totally there, but his flexibility on defense, you'll see when we get to the award categories. I just love Ben Simmons. His ability on the break and his passing ability is just second to none, and his ability to guard numerous positions. I just think Ben Simmons is one of the best guards in the league, and the way the Philadelphia 76ers have essentially been the best team in the East so far, I thought I'd award him as the second guard in there. So Ben Simmons.
Yeah, it's actually a really good one. This is where my lineup starts to get a little bit wonky.
Oh, God.
But I do promise you that I've got enough reserves to balance the team out based on whatever situation I may need to
didn't
put them
put
in.
Jeremy Grant in there, did you?
It's probably a little bit worse than that. At the number 3 spot, I've got the Greek Freak. I know that he's not, your prototypical number 3 guy, but this is just the way that I was building these guys. I was building them based off how much I like them to be all-stars. And like I said, the lineup looks a little bit wonky. It's really big, and you could tell by having the Greek Freak at the 3 spot. So
Yeah, well, I think our probably next 3 will probably be hovering around the same. I have Giannis as well in there. What do you got as your 4th starter here?
yeah, this is where it got a little bit confusing because I knew that I was going to go big for my last 3 spots, but I wasn't sure which position I kind of wanted to move around. But for the number 4 spot at the power forward, I'm going with Joel Embiid. And you talked a little bit about the Philadelphia team in general. It's a really good team, probably, one of the better teams in the league right now. So I felt like we had to definitely look into that team for some guys who were deserving of these starting roles in the All-Star game. And now Joel Embiid has been playing really well, in my opinion. So I felt like he was definitely deserving.
Yeah. I put Kevin Durant in here. He just made my list. You'll notice in the West, I exclude somebody who got hurt. But I think Kevin Durant has played enough games that he's deserving to be a starter in the All-Star game. And really, he's probably been the second or third best player in the league so far this year. So Kevin Durant is my number 4.
Now, I will say this. Kevin Durant is definitely in my honorable mention section. I didn't believe that he was going to be able to play by the time the All-Star game came around.
But
When I
he's
was
not.
so I didn't put him on there. Obviously, he's an All-Star. So I don't think me not putting him on the list is really about him not playing at an All-Star caliber level. It's more about him just not being able to play. So I'm giving other guys props.
Yeah, I left a certain Laker off the Western side because of that.
Yeah, as much as we'll get into it when we get into the West. But actually, for my last spot in the starting rotation, I'm going with another big guy. I'm going with Vucevic, who has been playing lights out pretty much all season long. In my opinion, he's probably one of the better bigs in the entire league. I really like his game, and he's been consistent, year in, year out. He's a second-time All-Star, so this would be, a really good experience to have him in my starting lineup. Let's see if these big guys can keep up with your fast-paced ones.
Yeah, I got Joel Embiid as my number 5. So our starters are pretty similar there. You like Bradley Beal and his worthless scoring, though granted, the Wizards have been much better of late, and I prefer Ben Simmons and his do everything style. But let's get into the reserves where maybe we have a little bit of differences. Who's your first reserve coming off the bench?
My first reserve is actually the guy you just spoke of, is Ben Simmons. I very easily could have put him in my starting lineup, but like I said, I was going more for caliber, and I know that my lineup seems wonky, but I have enough backups in reserve to really balance the team out, like I said. So Ben Simmons is my first reserve.
Yeah, my first reserve, I went with Domantas Sabonis, having a great year for the Pacers. The Pacers have been a little down the last couple weeks, but Domantas Sabonis has not been down, playing really, really good basketball right now. Who do you got next?
My second guy is actually a guy you mentioned a little while ago, Zach LaVine. He's
God.
listen,
Are you
man.
trying to hurt my soul?
This would be his first time, really coming in here and making an impact for the Achilles All-Star team. Okay. But he's a slam dunk champ. I believe he won 2 times. He's explosive. Have you seen his point per game average so far this season?
Yes, I've also watched the Bulls play.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is Achilles, All-Star team. This isn't, I get where you're coming from. Okay. You take team wins into consideration way more than I do. To me, this is about individual kind of accolades and recognition. So I feel like he definitely deserves it the way he's been playing.
Yeah, this is someone who probably put Kobe on their All-Star team the last 5 years.
Hey, sometimes you can get in on just merit alone. Okay, so
all right, my next guy up is Jason Tatum. Really having a strong year, great scorer. The Celtics starting to bounce back a little bit after a really, really poor 3 weeks, but have been really solid the last week and a half. Who do you have up next?
I actually have the exact same person. I have Jason Tatum also, and basically for all the same reasons you said. Probably one of the better players in the league. Like I said, very easily could have made my starting lineup, but I'm going with the more wonky one this time. So
yeah. Next up, the other Celtic, the duo. I got Jaylen Brown in mind. So Jaylen Brown up next. Really, he might come up in the awards category as well. Really elevated his game and played great, great basketball this year.
yeah, it's almost like you kind of looked up my lineup, because that's my next guy also is Jaylen Brown. He's averaging just around 25 points per game. So the stats speak for themselves. Like I said, to me, this is more of an individual type of, a game where you recognize people based off their personal accolades. So he's been playing well enough that I feel like he's good enough to make my reserve squad.
Yeah. All right. Guess who I have next? Your boy. I didn't totally exclude him. Bradley Beal is in there. The Wizards have been much better of late, and starting to knock on the playoff door. I think that probably says more about the East than anything else. But Bradley Beal's stats, you can't deny. And how great a player he really is, you can't deny. I give you crap about it, but he really is a stunning player. And once he decides to trade himself somewhere, we might actually see a worthwhile winning percentage as well with that.
Is he still leading the league in scoring right now?
Yes, but
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there and just kind of put it on record that you've got him as what, your fourth or fifth reserve. You know, the guy's leading the league in scoring, but okay.
I don't factor in scoring as much as winning.
This is the All-Star game, man. This is what it's about.
I'm about wins in the All-Star game as well.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a child of the 80s and 90s.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna try and talk you out of your ways when it comes to basketball. I know better.
What do you have up next?
For my next guy, I'm actually going over to your favorite team, the New York Knicks, and I'm going with Julius Randle. I feel like he's been playing really well. His game has definitely improved, like leaps and bounds from the time when he was back in California. So, at this pace, he definitely deserving to be an all-star. And if he continues at this pace, I feel like maybe there's some other award down the line for him.
Yeah. Julius Randle is on my reserve squad as well. So we were both in the same thinking there. Definitely have really enjoyed watching him play this year. And the Knicks are almost good. I wouldn't go as far as good, but good for the East. So Julius Randle on my squad as well. What do you have next?
Not that I hate this guy. Okay. I don't hate him. I don't hate a lot of people. And he's definitely not one of them. I had to go with Kyrie Irving. I feel like the skill level speaks for itself, regardless of what you may think of him, as a person, as a player, whatever. This is just about, like I said, personal accolades. And I feel like his skill level is definitely deserving of at least, a spot in the reserve squad.
Okay. Well, I do hate him. So guess what? He doesn't make my reserve team. I put another guard in there, one who's leading their team in scoring, and that's Fred VanVleet. I just thought he's worthwhile to get an all-star nod. He's been the best player on that Toronto Raptors team right now, and I just thought maybe we give Fred VanVleet some love here, especially since he hasn't been a jackass for half the year with the Brooklyn Nets. So I got Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, it's actually a really good pick. VanVleet and Sabonis were both also on my honorable mentions along with Kevin Durant. But my last guy is Atlanta's Trae Young.
Oh, God.
Listen,
He just got his coach fired.
Yeah, but like the guy's still been playing really well. Listen, yes, they're probably not doing as hot as you'd like this team to do before you give him recognition. But the guy's been playing well, man, and he deserves some sort of recognition. I felt like he deserved my last spot there. I just, from the old eyeball test, I felt like he's been playing well enough to make that last spot.
Yes, well, he'll fit in nicely with his defensive style of letting everybody score on him. I got your guy, Nikola Vucevic, as my last reserve on this team. No Trae Young, no Kyrie Irving for me. Those two can go play their shoot and score style somewhere else for me. So Nikola Vucevic, my last all-star reserve for the Eastern Conference. All right, let's move to the Western Conference. This one was a little bit harder starting five. I think front court-wise, you probably have it pretty locked down, but it got a little weird in that guard position. There are two spots with three players really pretty deserving there. So let's start out in the front court. What do you got in the front court here?
Let's see. I believe let me just make sure I got my right lineup here. Okay. Yeah, I'm starting off with Steph Curry from the Golden State. Obviously, we already know what the skill level possess. Multiple-time champ, 7-time All-Star, averaging just under 30 points per game. I don't think there's much argument when it comes to. I know that they're not playing really well, but everything that they are doing is basically because of him. He's been carrying his team. He's put his team on his back, and he's going to try to take them as far as he can, at least until they get healthy and kind of get into some good rhythm. But I still feel that he's definitely deserving to be that number one guy on the team.
Yeah, I had to push Steph to the bench because there are essentially 3 guards, all worthy, and 2 spots. So I got Luka Doncic as my first guard for them, and I just Luka's carrying a really, when you start to look at that roster in Dallas, a awful team, and he's carrying them into the playoffs. So Luka Doncic right now is just my number 1 guard on the West right now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I completely understand, which is why I'm going to ask you to understand why my team lineup is so wonky here. Just like in the East, I went really big. In the West, I'm going a little bit smaller. We're going to play some small ball in the West. For my number 2 guard, I have Portland's Damian Lillard, another big-time scorer who's averaging just under 30 points per game, 6-time All-Star. He obviously can distribute the ball really well. I still think that Curry's probably the better passer, so that's why I had to put him at the number 2 spot. He's definitely, in my opinion, probably more explosive scorer, a guy that you can kind of, slash the defense with, but he can still kick it out and get it to someone else. So he's in my number 2 spot.
Yeah, this is really who I benched Curry for, and really you can't go wrong. Curry, Lillard, Doncic, all, elite level guards. So I went with Damian Lillard just because Damian's had to carry this Portland Trailblazers team without Nurkic in there, without CJ McCollum in there for most of the season. And he's kept them afloat really with really, really bad players. So I went Damian Lillard as my number 2 guard.
And again, I hope you understand my train of thought when it came to my lineup. I know it's not conventional or traditional like you'd like, but for my number 3 spot, I actually have Luka in that spot.
Oh, you went a little cheating, and though Luka is a 6'10", 250-pound beast.
So as you can now see how I kind of maneuvered the whole situation there. But yeah, Luka probably one of the best players in the league. He's been playing lights out, so there's really no denying him being on there. Former Rookie of the Year, 2-time All-Star. So I don't think there's any argument. I don't think many people will argue me trying to get him in my starting lineup regardless of what spot I put him in.
Yeah. My next guy, the number 3, I'm going with Kawhi Leonard, probably the 2nd or 3rd best player in the league. So I don't really think you could leave him off. And he's had a really, really solid year. I know you did, because I know the other 2 probably have to be on there.
Well, maybe. Listen, you could, like I said, you can read me pretty well, okay? And I know you love yourself some Kawhi. And I'm not going to argue with you. The guy is a great player. But I had to go with the king, man. I had to take somebody from the Lakers on this spot, and that's going to be the team captain, which is LeBron James, 17-time All-Star, 4-time MVP, 4-time champ. I mean, there's really nothing much that needs to be said. Like I said earlier about Kobe, sometimes you can get in on merit alone, and that's basically where LeBron James is right now.
Yeah. LeBron James is my next spot on my starting 5. You cannot leave him out. He's pretty much carried that Lakers team all year long with Anthony Davis being out. And really, even despite their struggles the last couple weeks, LeBron is putting together typical LeBron numbers and performance. So LeBron is my next guy.
Now, I will give you the rest of my honorable mentions after we do our reserves, but I do want to just put it out there that Anthony Davis is on my honorable mentions.
Yeah,
for the rest.
I just left him off because, he hasn't played for, 4 weeks of the season. But as you know from our ranking show, I value Anthony Davis quite high. So if Anthony Davis would have been healthy and playing, I don't know who I probably would have bumped off. Maybe Kawhi here. But it would have been really hard to do that. But yeah, Anthony Davis, I think we both know, would have been an all-star.
But for my last spot on Achilles' all-star team, I went with Jokic, the big guy. Obviously, you've seen the game itself. The guy is lights out. He can do just about anything. He can go after the boards. He can score. He can play defense. He's not the best at certain qualities, but he's still a really effective player. He's a 3-time All-Star and definitely deserving to be in that last spot on Achilles' All-Star team.
Yeah, and guess what? Jokic is my number 5, so there's no way I would leave off Jokic, especially with the way he's playing right now. Just ridiculous numbers he's putting up. He's throwing up 30, 15s, and 14s nightly, which is just ridiculous for a 7-foot man who really
He
doesn't have a whole lot of athleticism.
he's almost averaging a triple double.
Yes.
And like you said, not the most athletically gifted big man that there is, but he's getting it done, man.
Yeah. All right. So those are our starting five. Let's get into our reserves. Where are you going with your reserve here?
For my first reserve spot, I am going with one of your boys, and that's Donovan Mitchell from the Jazz. Obviously, he's had a tremendous season. The Jazz team themselves has been playing really well. They have a really good record, probably better than a lot of people assume that they would have at this point in the season. And I know how much you value wins, so I don't think you'd argue with me having him as one of my first reserves.
No. And Donovan Mitchell made my reserves as well. Two Jazz made my reserves, and Donovan Mitchell was definitely one of them. The best team in the league, and he's the best player on the best team in the league, give or take if you want to already Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. My second guy is or did you give us your guy?
Donovan Mitchell was my next one, but Gobert is going to be the next one as well.
I just know how much you love him, and I wanted to make sure that you weren't just praising my pick a lot more than I was praising it myself. So for my number two reserve spot, I'm going with the Clippers' Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, you said it. The guy is probably one of the better players in the league, averaging just about under 27 points per game. He's averaging about 5 assists, just a little bit over 6 rebounds. So the stats speak for themselves. The accolades speak for themselves. The skill speaks for itself. So Kawhi Leonard's one of my other reserves.
Yeah. Well, you went with Steph and shifted Luka down to the 3. I had to put Steph on the bench, and Steph would be my next one on there. Clearly deserving. There really is well, technically, there are probably 7 players who deserve 5 spots on the Western starting roster. So, I mean, somebody gets pushed to the bench, and I just went Steph Curry, but not that I think Steph is not worthy of being a starter or anything.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when I was going through my list, I probably had a harder time deciding who was going to be on my reserves and who wasn't going to make the cut. There's just a lot of really good players in the league right now.
Yeah, the West was ridiculous having to start making cuts. I had a little bit easier time in the East just because I don't fall for your Zach LaVines and Trae
Young. Where are we at right now? Are we on the third spot?
Third spot.
Okay, for my third spot, I'm going with another Clipper, and that's Paul George. The guy's averaging just under 24 points per game. He's just like almost like White, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. So again, one of the better forwards in the league. Probably not on the elite level, probably not playing as well as he used to play, but still a very dangerous player to go up against night in, night out. So I think he obviously just, like I said, the accolades speak for themselves.
Yeah, I have Paul George as well. He's teetering 50, 40, 90. So he's shooting really, really well this year. Granted, the last couple of big games, Paul has been bricking, but that's per the course for Paul George. So as long as he remains in anonymity and doesn't have a big moment to live up to, I think he's just fine. But Paul George made my list too. Quite easy pick.
Next on my list, I actually have a guy that I know you love, and I love his defensive mindset. Probably not one of the flashiest guys, probably not one of the most physically, at least when it comes to the eyeball test, one of the most he's not very physically intimidating, but still a very, very good defender, and that's the Jazz's Rudy Gobert. And I mean, I don't have to say anything about this guy. I know how much you love this guy, and how much you think he's actually affected the Jazz team in general. So I'm not going to get into too much detail, but obviously he could have very easily been a starter in my opinion, but I at least have to get him into my reserves.
Yeah, Rudy's on my reserves as well. When you build your defensive mindset and are one of the best defensive teams in the league around Rudy Gobert, you can just look at the on-off numbers when Rudy's on the bench and Rudy's on the floor. It's just ridiculous, the defensive effect he has on the game. The last game and a half, notwithstanding, as Zion and Embiid have lit him up. But that rim protection, you can't just say enough about being able to have your guards funnel guys right into Rudy and then struggling to get their shots off. and really a perfect pick and roll guy on the offensive end. I mean, he's not going to be Shaq and you throw him the ball and he turns and, does a bunch of moves, but he sets a pick, he rolls to the basket and he gets you a dunk. So I just love Rudy Gobert. So Rudy made my list quite as well.
Now, next on my list is a guy that you just spoke of that I wouldn't say dominated your boy Rudy, but he played him really tough. And I know you're not a huge fan, so I'm just throwing that
You're
out
going to
there.
be shocked because he might have made my list as well.
I'm going with the big guy, Zion. I know that he hasn't been as physically intimidating as he kind of was anticipated to be when he came into the league, but he's still playing really well. And in my opinion, he's playing smart basketball, something that's going to extend his longevity when it comes to his career. Which, in my opinion, if he can play at this level, without putting his body at too much risk, I feel like he's probably going to be a time All-Star. So.
Yeah, Zion made my list as well. I ignored the fact that he can't defend anyone, and for some reason, this extremely large and athletic man somehow is not pulling double-digit rebounds down a game. But his offensive prowess right now is probably some of the best in the league. Nobody is capable of guarding him, and once he gets on the move, it's really, really, really destructive. So the way he's been playing the last handful of weeks now, granted, somehow the Pelicans still aren't winning, but Zion has been ridiculously good on the offensive side of the ball and much deserving of a reserve spot.
Yeah, that's why I picked him after Rudy, because I value defense a little bit more when it comes to the reserves, but we still got to get some big guys that can put up numbers. So
yeah, definitely. All right, so 2 spots left. And I think this is where it's a little hard to make the cuts. And who made it for you?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So for my last 2 spots, like you said, these were really tough. I wanted to go with kind of a big guy and then kind of between someone I could use, maybe at the 2, maybe at the 3. So for my final to last spot, I went with Karl Anthony Towns. I saw the eye roll. Okay, but listen, the guy. Oh God. Okay, I want you to tell me why you don't like that pick.
Have you watched the Timberwolves play?
Yes, of course I have. But have you watched him play?
If we were having our regular 7-on-7, we were going to have a Timberwolves cover. There was some stat the other day in the last 35 games. They're 4-31 when Karl Anthony Towns plays.
Okay, maybe so, but what else do they have?
Oh, I don't know. Nothing. They're a terrible organization and possibly the worst in basketball.
Again, I'm going off of personal accolades. It doesn't take much to make the Achilles All-Star lineup, so I'm definitely getting it to Anthony Towns.
You would be an owner just like the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Maybe so, but at least I enjoyed watching him play.
Please give me Russell, Edwards, and Towns. Let's put up a bunch of numbers and never win a basketball game ever. No, Towns is a very good player. We went in my top 30. He was definitely there, but it's just watching that team is just sad.
I understand where you're coming from.
All right, my next guy, I went with DeMar DeRozan. Efficiency out the wazoo right now. He's leading in assist, which is just ridiculous. If you look back at his time with the Raptors, the way he's throwing out 7-8 assist games and just his efficiency. And I thought the Spurs needed to be rewarded a little bit. I mean, they're like a 6 seed right now. So I don't know how you not put somebody who's a 6 seed in the West on the team. So I thought DeRozan deserved a nod here.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the guys that I was looking at. And it got really tough, and you probably won't understand my, train of thought when it comes to my last spot on my list.
You can't have Zach LaVine on both teams.
What do you mean I can't have on both teams? Of course I can.
Or Trae Young.
No, see, now I know you're going to give me a hard time about this one. I'm going with Brandon Ingram.
Oh, God.
I know. Let me hear it. I'll take it.
Load up with the underachieving New Orleans Pelicans.
Listen, maybe those 2 guys, along with all these other All-Stars, will be able to actually win a game. So That's what I'm hoping for here.
That might have to do with a starting lineup that has Luka and LeBron James and Jokic in it.
Yeah, that might help. I mean, if you've got him as one of your backups, I think you're doing pretty well.
All right. So you went Brandon Ingram. I had to give the Suns some love because they're now up to number 2 in the West. I thought Chris Paul deserved the love. I don't think actually Devin Booker is having a great year. So I just thought Chris Paul, despite my qualms, at least he goes around and wins games, unlike some point guards. So I just thought Chris Paul deserved the nod. I can do without the all-stars crying when like Devin Booker gets snubbed. I wanted to ask LeBron James who was he kicking off the team, and was it going to be his Anthony Davis who he was kicking off the team because Booker didn't make the spot. So anyway, it worked out because Davis is hurt and Booker got the spot, but I just thought Chris Paul deserved that last spot.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Like I said, I had a few honorable mentions. I said Anthony Davis was one of them already. But I also had Chris Paul on there. I feel like he's definitely changed the dynamic of that team. He's not the Chris Paul of old, the guy that we're used to seeing who could, completely run off as all by himself.
That's the one in 5 years we'll be looking at and wondering why he was on the All-Star team.
But, I think he's definitely had an impact on the Suns team.
Yes, definitely.
And I do want to give some credit also to one of my other honorable mentions, which is Booker. I know you said that you don't think he's having such a great season. I actually think he is. I think that Chris Paul's benefiting from the type of play that he's been putting up. I think they complement each other really well. So I had thought that if I can get them both on the same team, even as reserves, then I'll get them both on the honorable mention squad.
All right, good enough. All right, those are our all-star picks. Now let's go to our mid-season awards. Do we want to start from the MVP and work our way down, or do we want to start with the loser awards and work our way up?
Yeah, I think we work our way up because, MVP is all the talk. So we'll work our way up.
All right, we'll work our way up. We'll start with Rookie of the Year. There's not a whole lot of choice here. I think we'll both probably cringe as we say it, but honestly, this team's been pretty exciting to watch all year long. So who do you have for Rookie of the Year?
Like you said, there definitely is a little bit of a cringe factor when it comes to saying this name out loud because I don't want to admit it, but it seems like all of the analysts definitely saw something that I didn't see. I did see the skill level, but I also saw a bunch of other drama and a lot of other baggage that came along with that skill. So I don't think it warranted that number 1 pick, but obviously they saw something that I didn't see. And my Rookie of the Year for so far this season is definitely LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, I have LaMelo Ball too.
Uh-oh, clear it, buddy. Clear the throat. Yes, don't worry about it. I'll cover you. Obviously, I can't deny it. The guy's been playing really well. He's definitely added a spark to that team, and they seem to be playing better because of him, as opposed to him, being kind of a extra weight that they have to carry around. He seems to be contributing more to win. So, as much as I hate to admit it, so far he's my Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. This is my 3rd podcast of the day, so the voice is starting to go. LaMelo Ball has to be the Rookie of the Year right now. I don't think either of us thought, one, he'd fit in this well, which is probably the biggest shock. I think we both saw ability in their rebounding, assist. The scoring is much better than I thought it would be, but his ability to fit in and not be a jackass really shocked me, and he's really a good teammate. And this Charlotte team is really an enjoyable watch. Yeah, LaMelo Ball. I don't know what others you could probably really put in there. Maybe a little Tyrese Halliburton, but the Kings are so bad. I don't even think you could question anybody else is even close.
Yeah, well, I thought that Halliburton was probably a little close, but I didn't think it was close enough to even mentioning. I think that right now, as it stands, Ball is probably hands down the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to most improved. Where are you going with your most improved player?
Most improved. This is a guy that I talked about for my All-Star squad. I definitely seen the improvement. I didn't think that he would improve this far. I thought we had seen his ceiling already, but obviously he's got a lot more to offer and seems to be improving. And if it continues this way, I think he's hands down the most improved player, and that's the New York Knicks' Julius Randle, who's averaging just under 24 points per game, a little bit over 5 assists per game, and 11 rebounds per game. So when you're averaging a double double, after being what you've been, I think you're definitely in the talks for most improved player.
Yeah, definitely. My guy was actually DeAndre Hunter, and the Hawks were. He's hurt right now, but this is mid-season awards. Hopefully, he'll make his way back. But the Hawks were 8-8 when he got hurt, and since then they have been just awful. They just fired their coach. DeAndre Hunter was actually probably the Hawks' best player this year, and the jump from last year to this year, I just thought was ridiculously good. So I have Hunter right now in my as my number one guy. I think Randall's in there. I think some Bruce Brown, the Nets guy who's sort of playing hybrid. I don't know what position, hybrid power forward, center, small forward, do everything to cover up the bad defense of Harden and Irving pretty much. Deserves a little recognition here. And both Julius Randle and Jaylen Brown, I think of the high-level players, probably also deserve mention in this most improved as well.
Yeah, I get that. That definitely makes sense. I don't know. Maybe it's because he was a Laker and I'm a little biased, but I just feel like when it comes to all these other players, Brown, all these guys, yes, there's an improvement, but it's not an improvement that we didn't really see coming. Whereas to me, Julius Randle is a definite improvement that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, definitely. Good call. All right. We're going to go to Coach of the Year, and I'm really curious where you're sitting here on Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I was really, really torn between these two guys, and that's both of the coaches that are actually coaching the All-Star team. That's Doc Rivers and Snyder in Utah. I think both coaches have done an excellent job in transforming their respective teams, and not just that, but almost kind of overnight changing the culture of the franchise. It seems like when you look at both of these squads now, you expect night in, night out to bring some sort of greatness, and I think it all starts from the top up, from the top down. So I think that these two coaches were definitely kind of neck and neck. But if I had to pick somebody, I mean, it's hard to pick against Snyder, in my opinion.
Yeah. I went a little different. I went with James Borrego of Charlotte. He has this team at number 6 in the Eastern Conference at 17-18. I know we don't, usually reward, medium level, but I mean, if I told you the Charlotte Hornets roster, I mean, I don't think you'd say there was one like elite level player on this thing. I mean, they're led by Terry Rozier and, LaMelo Ball, and it's just a mismatched roster. Cody Zeller, Miles Bridges, Malik Monk, PJ Washington, Devontae Graham. I mean, Bismack Biyombo is coming off the bench and being productive. If you're a coach and you can get that, you probably deserve some accolades. But I just think the ability to make this Charlotte Hornets roster competitive, and I just think that deserves a little more credit than, both Quinn Snyder and Doc Rivers getting rosters that are really, really have numerous elite level players. I mean, that Jazz roster is loaded 8 deep with, high level NBA players. And the Sixers literally tanked for 6 years to build the roster that they have now. So I just, I went a little different, and I went with James Borrego.
No, and it makes sense. I mean, it definitely makes sense, especially the way you put it. It's just that to me, most of the time I'll tell you that when it comes to, awards, I don't take the team record or their wins into consideration as much as I do individual performances. Now, when it comes to the coaching, I'm the opposite of that. I think that wins really reflects as far as the coach's ability goes, and the record says it also.
Yeah. Borrego was my first choice, but Snyder, Monty Williams, and Greg Popovich were my next 3. So you can sort of see where I do factor in the wins.
No, it makes sense. What you said makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's just impressive the way this Charlotte team is playing. Like, even we talked about it. I made fun of you with your Karl Anthony Towns thing, but you look at that Minnesota roster, they got 3 top 3 lottery picks sitting there, and they can't win a game. And Charlotte, literally has a bunch of low-level lottery picks to undrafted guys and are winning games and are in playoff contention. So just really impressed with what James Borrego is doing. I was impressed last year as he had this team contending for a playoff spot again last year as well.
Yeah, like I said, totally makes sense. I get where you're coming from, and I don't fault you at all for that pick. I think it's a really good pick.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to sixth man of the year. I don't know if we can find someone other than the sixth man who's easily going to win it right now, but we'll see if you could come up with any other names. Who do you have for sixth man of the year?
I mean, I don't know if this is a consensus favorite, but in my opinion, I consider him the sixth man, and I think that he's probably going to end up winning it, especially if the team he's playing this way. And that's another Utah guy, which is Jordan Clarkson. He's obviously been contributing a lot on the offensive side of the ball, and that's kind of what they need. Especially they need a spark when their main guys are out, getting a little bit of a rest. They need a spark, and Clarkson's been that spark. So I feel like he's probably been the most valuable bench asset for their team when it comes to the league this season.
Yeah, definitely. Clarkson's my choice too. I there's nobody even really that close. I put Joe Ingles and Thad Young hovering around in there, but honestly, I don't think you could even make an argument all that well for anybody but Clarkson. The way Clarkson's come off the bench and scored, it's a runaway right now, especially with the efficiency that he's had. It's just been ridiculous the way he's come in.
Yeah, definitely. I like I said, wins for the team, individual stats. He's basically got the position locked down, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. So let's go defensive player of the year. I'm a little curious where you're going here.
I talked about it a little bit during our All-Star, picks, and I'm going with another Jazz player here, Rudy Gobert. I think that, offensively, the stats aren't great, but this isn't an offensive award. This is a defensive award. And obviously, he's been one of the better defensive players in the league. He alters all kinds of shots. He gets in people's faces. He's not the most physically intimidating person, like I said earlier, but he is still, a defensive prowess. He's a really good defensive player. I feel like he affects the game night in and night out. And anybody who's going up against him can probably vouch for that. Probably not one of the guys you want to see, facing you up when you're trying to, drive to the rim or cut to the basket. He's a really good defensive player.
Yeah, I thought you might go that way. I'm going to go with Ben Simmons. Now, it's very hard to do that the way Rudy Gobert is, but I just love the Swiss Army knife that Ben Simmons. He can guard your point guard, and actually, in theory, he can guard centers too. I mean, not all centers, but I wouldn't put him on Jokic or anything, but he can guard centers, and he can guard point guards. So I just love that Swiss Army knife style. You saw him lock down Luka a couple weeks ago. It's just really impressive the way he can just move around and guard many different styles of player and position of player.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, and it makes a lot of sense. My mentality when it comes to that position is the guy that kind of locked down the paint. And when you're averaging just under 3 blocks per game, you're a defensive anchor on the, when it comes to the defense side of the ball. And that's Gobert. So to me, he was my lock-in for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Rudy was my next choice. And then Joel Embiid and Draymond Green were also in there. I think Draymond Green's really been impressive this year. He can't score anymore, but he really anchors a really nice switchy defense. And Embiid's been a nice little paint defender as well. Not as good as Rudy Gobert, but I just went Swiss Army knife style and Ben Simmons. Okay, we're at the MVP. I'm really curious where you're going with MVP. Are you voting with your heart or are you voting with your brain here?
I think it's a little bit of both, but mostly my brain. Because if it was my heart, I'd probably just go all Lakers. You know me.
Dennis Schroeder as your number 2 choice.
That was going to be my 6th man of the year.
Saw how bad they got once he left for COVID protocols.
Oh gosh, he's obviously the missing link on that team.
I thought you were going to put Kuzma as your 6th man.
No, listen, I'm really biased, but I try not to be, especially for these awards. So I try to get into the guys that I thought were most deserving, even though I am really biased most of the time. But for my MVP, I actually went with Jokic. Like you said, the stats speak for themselves. The guy's averaging basically almost a triple double per game. He comes in, plays offense, plays defense, goes after rebounds. And like you said, not the most nimble guy, not probably the most athletic, big man that there is, but he seems to be able to do it all. And there's not much that I don't see him being able to accomplish. I think that he's probably the most valuable asset to his team in the league. And if he were to leave that team, it'd be a completely different Denver team.
Yeah. My number one guy, I have to admit, when we first told you I was doing this list, when the show was going to be recorded and I wasn't procrastinating, I had Damian Lillard. And then Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers went on about a 6-game losing streak. So I altered it in the last couple days, and I moved Joel Embiid in there, really being a dominant force in the paint right now. He's becoming everything we thought he should become. He's in much better shape. He can play the minutes. He can work hard for long stretches of the game instead of in small stretches. And his scoring ability, when he gets in that post, it's old school. It's, 90s David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon style. It's just something we haven't really seen since Yao Ming and Shaq were in this league. And then everybody decided to call everything a touch foul, and guards started dominating this league. So it's good to see Joel Embiid in there. And my number 2 choice was your number 1 choice, and I have Jokic at number 2 for me.
When was the last time that I guess you'd technically call these guys centers? When was the last time a center won MVP? Was it Shaq?
It probably was Shaq. I can't remember if Shaq or Duncan won it last, but it's probably one of those two. So I don't think any other MVP has not been a guard forward swing. I don't know what you call LeBron James and such, but yeah, that's probably the last one, Shaq or Duncan.
Now, I know that this isn't your gambling podcast, but I wonder what the odds are on that. I'm sure that right now they've probably jumped already, but yeah.
The other guys I had in here were Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, and LeBron James. Really think I really liked Dame until this little stretch where I think he started to wear down a little bit. LeBron has to be in there, but I haven't loved his. It sounds stupid. He looks a little less efficient than he usually is. Now that might be because he's shouldering a lot more of the load, but that and. He's getting older. So I just don't think regular season, this is the regular season award. He's the MVP right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with as much as I'd like for him to win it, because that would probably mean that the Lakers are doing really well. I just don't see it this season. But, obviously we still have, I guess, technically a whole nother half to go. So
yeah, we have a little more than that, technically speaking.
So we'll see how things pan out. But as of right now, for me, it has to be Jokic.
Also, Luka the last 2 months is coming on with a bullet right now.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's our show.